This is Swarfcast. I'm Noah Graff. I am very honored to be with Justin Tauber, co-owner and vice president of Integrated Machinery Systems in Itasca, Illinois. Welcome to the show, Justin.
Thank you, Noah. Honored to be here.
First, I want everybody to know a little bit about Integrated Machinery Systems. I actually stumbled upon Justin when we were offered a Yama Seiki Swiss machine last week, maybe the week before. And we called him up because he was the local distributor in Chicago and just was a fantastic guy. Spent all the time we needed and really helped us understand these machines. So without further ado, I really look forward to learning more about what you guys sell, a lot more than just the Swiss machines. So first, give us a really brief overview of what Integrated Machinery Systems does.
Yeah, absolutely. So with our company, we offer a full line of machine tools. So we offer everything from turning machines, machining centers, grinders, automation, and 3D printing. So we're kind of a one-stop shop as long as you're not looking for fab equipment.
Wow. And okay, now I want a 3-minute bio. How did you get into this business?
Okay. Yeah. This company started from my grandfather's business, which was a perishable tooling company. There was actually two, Sanders Tools and Supplies Incorporated. And my father decided to take us in the direction of CNC machines back when they were run on tape. And then growing up, worked in the back warehouse of the tooling division, and then actually interned at one of our customers. And after college, decided I was going to take the road of CNC machine tool salesman.
Was that the thing that you always thought you were going to do?
I don't know. It was always a possibility. I think I wanted to try and see what else was out there in the world, but when it's always in front of your face, it kind of becomes something that is embedded and kind of your destiny.
I can totally relate. Relate. So you've been there a little while. You've been there, what, 20 years, 25 years?
Yeah, just I think this will be year 22 for me.
Wow. So you're 42?
Not quite. I'm 47 years old, and yeah.
Okay.
Just a wife and 2 kids, 2 daughters. Live in the Chicagoland area, and been doing this for, I would say, a good amount of time.
Okay. Well, good. Then you should be an authority. No pressure. So, first of all, okay, so you got grinding, you got 3D printing, you got multi-spindles, you got Swiss. I'm sure I'm forgetting something.
5-axis.
5-axis. Okay. So I'm assuming lately the last year or two has been really good as far as business.
Yeah, the last couple of years have really been positive growth for us because people are looking for machines that have automation or some type of automation, whether it's auto loading, robotics, bar-fed machines. As you know, Swiss machines usually give operators time to go and do other things while it's running through the bar. Multi-spindle, as reshoring is, starting to come into play. More people are looking into multi-spindles because the volumes are increasing, and there's still demand.
Right now, out of all the stuff you do, what are the things, what's the stuff you're making the most money on? Grinding, turning?
I would say it's a mixture of, the grinding, the multi-spindles, the turning is really, I think as people start to embrace the 5-axis, milling will definitely pick up for us. But, anything that's, automatable has definitely become a driver for us right now. So a lot of automated turning, multi-spindle machines, and
You're the distributor for Index, correct?
correct, Index Traub in Illinois. When you look at the multi-spindle landscape, I think it's hard to not talk about Index. Index is such a high quality machine. I just came back from the factories in Germany, and really, it's just amazing the attention to detail they do when they're making these machines. I've never seen such precision go into manufacturing a machine.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're the gold standard for CNC multi-spindles. No offense to the others, and Index is far from perfect, but
no, there's no perfect machine tool builder, that's for sure.
yeah, but I mean, if somebody says I want to get a CNC multi-spindle, and buy one new, I just tell them at Index. I mean, the new Tornos are pretty cool, those multi-Swiss, but they still can't do the same kind of thing that an Index can do. I mean, they're so much more powerful. I want to go sort of to the other side of the spectrum first. We called you about Yama Seiki machines. Now, Swiss, everybody's talking about Swiss. It's the thing right now. Would you say a Yama Seiki is sort of, I don't know, this doesn't sound right. Is it sort of, it's like a Star knockoff?
Our machines are pretty close in kinematics to the Star machines. I've found that people have taken Star programs and put them into our machines and practically had very little editing to have done.
So it's the same Fanuc Control?
Yeah, same Fanuc Control, very same tool layout, depending on our models and their models. The majority of the machines that we're selling right now are 5-axis Swiss machines, but we also offer 6 and 7-axis as well. Our tooling is very similar.
It's interesting that you have mainly been offering the 5-axis as a used dealer who, somewhat specializes in Swiss machines. I find that the 5-axis machines are kind of difficult to sell unless it's an A Citizen or maybe like an SB Star. But some of those others, like a DMG 5-axis, a Tsugami 5-axis, people don't really want it, it seems like, or they don't really want to pay that much money for it. You are finding that that's the most popular machine you guys have? I mean, that's the ones you guys are making the most of.
Yeah, it's interesting because for our customer base, we're finding most of the parts can be done without a Y-axis on the back working or a B-axis. But that's not to say we haven't offered it. I'll be bringing in a Yama Seiki SW32 with double Y. No B-axis, so it'll be a 6-axis machine. That'll be coming in the next month or two. And again, we'll see what kind of quoting that machine will require versus our other machines.
Yeah, interesting. Can you explain real quick? Sometimes you see these Swiss machines and it says like 5-axis plus 2C-axis. And it's very strange. I mean, we sold some Tornos Decos a while back, and you actually had to call and pay Tornos for some passwords to turn on the C axis on these machines. What is a C axis? Because like some of, it'll say some of these Swiss machines, it'll be like 5 axis plus 1 C axis or plus 2 C axis. And they'll say, oh, it's not a 5 axis, it's a 7 axis.
Yeah, I mean, C axis, I can't imagine buying a Swiss machine with milling capability or Y axis capability without C axis. So C axis is the rotational position in the spindle, main and sub, often needed when you're milling flats or slots to position the bar in the location for the tool to come and do the, the work that it's programmed to work, as well as when you're passing parts from main spindle to sub. Sometimes you have to synchronize those spindles so that you can grab where you want to grab in the part. I find it interesting that someone wouldn't offer it as standard, but we offer it as standard.
Yeah, well, it seems like you guys offer a lot. So what is the price, say, of a 20 millimeter 5 axis? I guess it would be the SW20. What's the price and what does that come with?
Okay, that's a good question. The SW20, our package from Yama Seiki, is handsomely optioned out at about 164,000. And at 164,000, that gets you a 12-foot bar feeder from FedEx L&S. That gets you the main spindle and sub spindle with C-axis, a chucker kit, which allows you to take the guide bushing out.
Wow, you get the kit. You get the kit with that. Wow, because often they charge, the others charge like 10 grand extra for that.
Yes, and a very nice live tool package. So on the front working, you have the 3-face mill drill holder. Then you have several cross drill holders. You have 2 milling holders for the sub or back working tool post, and then a variety of boring holders to do any boring work.
Wow. What about the 32 millimeter? How much would that be?
32 is going to be about $17,000 more.
That's it.
And yeah, it's not much more money. And
that comes with chip conveyor, miscollector.
That is without the chip conveyor. Often we sell the machine without a chip conveyor, but the chip conveyor is only another $5,000. When you go into high pressure coolant, we have a couple systems. We have a system that is made by Yama Seiki, or we go to MP systems or Chip Blaster. Okay. And with that, we automatically quote the mist extraction system. Wow.
So with those bells and whistles, you're maybe talking 200 grand, say?
Yeah, under 2. Yeah, exactly. You're talking about a 32 millimeter, well optioned out for under 200,000. And I think that's hard to beat.
What do you think a 5-axis Citizen or Star would be? About 250?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing that they're in the 250s, and I'm hearing that their lead times are out there right now.
Right.
As ours are starting to creep up as well.
Right. So this has been a good time then for you guys, because people aren't even able to buy the Citizen or the Star. So it's kind of like us with used machines. People are coming to you because you're an alternative, correct? Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is some of our customers, how it started many years ago, same scenario. And they gave us a try and they haven't looked back. And so I think the thing is, if you're looking for a good value in a Swiss machine and you're not application dependent, I think you should look at our machine, or any of the machines. Why pass up the work while the work's available?
Well, I guess most people would just say, "Oh, I have the tooling and the collets and blah blah blah." But yes, I agree.
If you have a Star, the the tooling on our machines generally work together.
Wow. It's interesting. You are on two ends of the spectrum. You have sort of the budget machine that's made in Taiwan, and then you have the Index and the Traub that are made in Germany.
I think that there's a lot of people that have budgets that are on, different ends of the spectrum again. And let's face it, I mean, you're not going to have the ability to justify a piece of equipment if the tolerances aren't that high and it's not that intricate of a part.
Yeah.
But you want to bring it in-house. Now, that is not to say that we don't have an accurate machine. We do. I think a lot of our customers are surprised. And our machines, I mean, we have customers that have had their machines well over 12 years and are still running. We offer the customer the ability to open their offerings for the Swiss machines. Because let's face it, there's not as many people that make Swiss out there as there is an 8-inch chuck lathe or a 40 by 20 vertical.
Yeah.
So, really people were funneled into that Star, Citizen, Tsugami purchase for years. And I guess it just comes down to, are you ready to change?
Yeah.
Are you willing to change?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then on the high end, I mean, in order to really open up for an Index, you have to have the volume. And even though that's not to say we can't do a mix of parts, because the changeover is a lot easier on an Index, you still need volume. And where we're really seeing some inquiries come in on the Index machines is somebody who needs 9 Swiss machines. If we can do it on an Index,
right,
we can get you 1 or 2 machines right away instead of you waiting for well over a year for that type of purchase to be delivered.
Of course, an Index could take a year to be delivered as well.
The nice thing about Index is they're the only multi-spindle maker that actually doesn't buy a build on purchase. So they're constantly putting machines in the build schedule without a purchase order connected to them. So our deliveries aren't as bad as you would think.
What's a delivery on an MS40 Index?
Right now, an MS40 could be delivered as early as March for an MS40-6 and possibly sooner on an MS40-8.
Okay, so 10 months.
10 months, 9 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and again, with taking in consideration that those machines generally come with some type of turnkey. So we'll bring it to our floor. We'll write all the programs, select the tooling, run it off, and then break it down, ship it to your facility, and do that all over.
I think some people would say that they prefer a Swiss to have 8 Swiss machines rather than buying an Index, because if one machine goes down, they have some backup on it, versus if the Index goes down, you have all your eggs in one basket.
We can actually, if it's capable, we can run the part through with one spindle out till we can come in and replace it, repair it, whatnot. So sometimes you don't have to put the machine down, just in the case of having an issue in one of our positions, because they're independently driven. The other thing is that in general, if you're going to take the position to move into the multi-spindle, you probably will want more than one, or end up with more than one.
That's true, but it's a huge investment. I mean, how much is one MS40 Index? About 2 mil?
The 2 million and above, depending on how you're getting it optioned out. Yeah. And then you add your tooling and your turnkey cost. But yeah, you're over $2 million on an MS40. And that's, 40 millimeter capable machine.
Yeah.
We have also the ability to, make it more than one machine, I guess, when we do double drops. So we can go every other position, and every, say, 15 seconds, you drop 2 parts. Now you're in a 7.5 second cycle time. And I just don't see any Swiss machines keeping up with us.
No, that's incredible.
In our cycle time. Yeah. So you got to have the right mix, the right volumes for your parts. And then as you put it out and you start laying everything out, it doesn't sound as expensive as, over $2 million.
All right. 3D printing, lately I've heard a few used dealers talking about it. And the last guy we interviewed for the podcast talked a little about it. What are you seeing as far as that? Is that just like growing like crazy, 3D printing?
I think that there's a lot of growth happening in the industry on the provider side. So there are a lot of new product coming out. I was just at the Rapid Show in Detroit, and the amount of different manufacturers and collaborations, and this company bought that company, and there's just more offerings right now in the market. But I don't know if the amount of adoption in the marketplace by the customers is where everybody expected it to be at this point.
Okay. What did people expect it to be? More production than just prototypes?
I think what everybody on the side of sales in 3D printing thought it was going to be easier to get people to bring it on board, to just try it, to see, hey, does this fit into our space? Do we have a place for this at our company? And it's slower to market than what we all expected.
So you're saying demand is less, like companies are trying it less than people thought?
Yes. Yeah. There are some people that really know they need to bring it on. Now they have to figure out how to justify it.
How much does a 3D printer cost? What's the range?
Like for us, we sell a brand called Markforged, and we offer printers that are just under 5,000. That's a desktop. And then we have a metal system that's about 250,000 for all the items that you need for that, which is the printer, the wash station, and the center oven. And then
what would that make?
That could make anything from parts in tool steel, stainless, copper.
But I mean, like what sort of object?
You could make anything from fixtures, end arm tooling. You could make end use parts. There are people that are making custom tool holders with the metal printers. So they're literally making like shell mill cutters with the ability to have the coolant lines hitting the inserts where you wouldn't traditionally be able to do that as easily with the standard method. There's just a bevy of things that you can make in metal printing and in composite printing.
Yeah. You said you had a few parts with you?
Yeah. So, I mean,
I want you to, hold them up and be very descriptive. That's good right there.
Yeah. So this part right here, I mean, this was one of the first pieces we ever printed on our printer about, almost 5 years ago. And I think one of the things that the reason why I brought this print. Well,
explain it to people who are just listening and not watching it.
Well, this piece is a piece that someone designed, but the point to be made here is that this part, if you had to have somebody machine this, it would take a very long time, and they'd have to have a considerable amount of skill to make this. And we brought this printer in, we plugged it in, we set it up and we printed this and came in the next morning. And here's what a couple sales guys were able to achieve. And so one of the things,
couple sales guys, so people that didn't really have any skill,
never printed a thing in my life before this. And I mean, as you can see, this has.
So what is it made of? It's black and it's some sort of composite.
Exactly. So they have their own proprietary material. So this is called onyx. It is about 80% chopped carbon fiber, and then the 80% nylon, and 20% chopped carbon fiber. So it's a nylon chopped carbon fiber mix. And then we also have another nozzle that we can put fiber strands through, which allow us to make a even stronger part. And with that, it's like rebar. You have this reinforcement that we can make this material with our fiber inlay as strong as 6061 aluminum. So now that opens up doors for fixturing, end-to-arm tooling, things that really your customer, shouldn't be using their CNCs to make pieces on their CNC.
Right,
so
right.
Now you can tell the guys that are in the office designing the fixture, hey, put this in an STL format, print it for me, and I'm going to stick it in the vise, and that's how we're going to hold these parts.
So if you were going to machine that part, what would you make it on? Like a twin turret or a I don't know, just have a vertical machining center, 5-axis or something like that?
Yeah, this part would require either multiple setups on a mill or 5-axis, maybe 1 or 2 setups on a 5-axis on a multi-axis lathe. That would be very hard to make this part. And I think that's the whole point of this, benchmark piece is, where the place is for 3D printing. And then the other piece that I brought is, metal piece. This piece has threads printed in it, and no turning or any prep was done after this was printed, but you have an external thread and an internal thread, and you're able to match these parts up pretty easily.
Here, just hold it up to the.
There we go.
Yeah. Interesting. Is the tolerances on this, are they comparable to?
No, that's where 3D printing's not capable of keeping up with CNC. So
will that change anytime soon?
I think that obviously they're working on it, and there are technologies that lend themselves to better tolerances. We have some things in our toolbox with our brand that allow us to basically qualify our parts on our machines with lasers. That gives the customer the ability to, really check a part before it's sent out, or qualify it before it's sent out. So those are things that, give you a better shot at making a good part within tolerance.
Let's talk a little bit about our current economy, the current state of things, stock market, in the toilet. I mean, that's an understatement. Oil prices crazy. How do you think that's going to affect business? Has it affected inquiries in the last week?
Honestly, inquiries have increased as of late for us.
Right. But I mean, like, for instance, it's hard. People always ask us, oh, how's this month going? And
yeah.
And we're just like, well, maybe this month sucked, but the last 2 months were really good. But still, I don't know. How are you feeling about it? Is our world independent somewhat of that other world?
I think it's interesting because from what I hear, there's still demand in capital goods, or consumers still have an appetite for things like cars or boats, RVs, motorcycles, items that are important to our industry for us
last week.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because right now, for years, everybody said, it's hard for the automotive industry because of the lack of chips, but, they're going to take the chips that they have and put it in the F-150s and all the big profit cars. But if gas keeps going up, maybe the Toyota Corollas of the automotive industry are going to become popular again because, maybe a family can withstand $6 gas for a month, but if that comes into play for over a year, I mean, that's going to change a lot for people, and it's going to change how they do a lot of things, including doing things that are important for our industry as far as consumers go.
Are you thinking that it's going to make it harder for people to borrow to buy machines, or is it just too early to know?
I think that eventually, yes, because I mean, I would imagine if it's similar to the home mortgage rate change, you're probably talking about a 2% difference in rates over a couple of years, right? And it sounds like the Fed wants to do a similar raise next month because this is the policy that they think is going to curb inflation.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, 2% can mean a lot to some people, especially if they're thinking of a number. I'm only going to pay $4,000 for this machine a month because that's the only way it's going to justify it, right? And then rates go up 2%, and that now is, over their budget. So,
yeah, no, it's going to be interesting.
what is your feeling on that?
Well, I mean, people do finance our machines probably a lot less than they finance machines from you. Although we don't know always, they're kind of taking care of it themselves.
Right.
Honestly, it's just so hard to tell. I do feel like the machinery business and the manufacturing business is just different from, or the machining business is just different from other stuff going on Main Street. And just because one thing is happening, maybe not exactly the other. At the same time, it's all integrated. And if everything goes to hell on one side, it'll probably go to hell on our side too. But you have to remain optimistic. And I just feel like, I don't know, people have certain contracts and things that they've committed on. And I don't know, people have inquired on a bunch of machines today. Does that mean they're going to buy them? I don't know.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I think that, I mean, one of the things that if the supply chain has continual issues and people have to start bringing more and more in-house, then it'll drive them to make the investments no matter what. As and
that's my hope.
Yeah, that's all our hope, right? I mean, I remember when I started in this industry and kept on seeing things go to China. And I was like, boy, this doesn't seem like it's slowing down at all.
Yeah.
And then, now, if more and more people will bring things back in-house, if there'll be more incentives for them to do that, then the hope is that they, take advantage of it and grow internally and become your partner that way.
What advice do you have, overall advice do you have for somebody looking for a machine tool? How should they look at things? What's the first thing they should do?
Yeah, I mean, I think like nowadays, everybody starts on the internet, right? They say, all right, I'm looking for a lathe. And then they type in lathe manufacturers or start to go to websites and look at what they can get on the internet, what kind of information. So a lot of times when somebody comes to us, or, they already know some things. So, they've already been doing some research. So research is key. And then I think you have to partner with somebody who you feel can support you with your needs. So if your needs, everybody needs good support.
It really is about, people ask us, which Swiss machine should I buy, out of the main ones? And I just say, whichever one has good support near you and a good reputation.
Yeah, exactly. It comes down to, obviously you want a quality product that you can afford, that is supported properly. And, it is also the customer's job to maintain it properly as well. But find a company that has a good amount of parts in the United States and a good amount of service locally and national.
Yeah, for sure. Tips for somebody selling machinery.
Hang in there, because it does have its ups and downs. I mean, some days are great. Some days, you can feel like you can do no right. But relationships, and remember that, wherever you go, trust in your word is the thing that you're going to take with you. So
yes.
make sure that is something that people know you by.
Yes, absolutely. Basically, I think you hit two huge things, just the networking. And I mean, it's like with us, we called you and have to really take a bunch of time to help us. We weren't going to buy a machine from you, but you were in the mode of giving and giving your time, giving your information, your expertise. And, in the end, hopefully, we give you something back. Maybe we find somebody looking for a Yama Seiki and bring them to you. And I think you really hit it. Is it hard to do so many different things well?
Yeah. So, obviously you have to have good partners, right? The builders that we have, Index and Traub, when you think of multi-spindles, Hermle, when you think of 5-axis, Takamaz. I mean, they make their own.
That means you have to understand them all. That's
right. We do our best. We study the products as best we can, and we lean on the manufacturer when needed. Another reason why I go to factories, I did the Hermle tour. I did the Index Traub tour in Germany a few months back, and I've gone to just about every one of our manufacturers' factories, and that's where you really learn, a little bit more about what's in the secret sauce, right? What are they doing over there? What makes them different? Why, when you walk into a customer and say, why should I buy your machine over somebody else's? You can start to really hit them with some of the key points that should be important to somebody when they're buying a machine. Yeah, this company will not buy their spindles on the outside. They will only make them in-house. They make them on great machines. And therefore, we don't replace their spindles. They last. Things like that.
Yeah, that's important. That's important.
But we've, some of the stuff we've done for so long, if you talk about it and you quote in, something for as long as we've done. I mean, we've been a Walter dealer since the mid-90s. There's just not a lot of partnerships that last that long in our industry anymore. And so therefore, we've been talking tool and cutter grinders for quite a long time, and we've seen the product develop.
So we have the experience.
Yeah, so we have the experience. 3D printing was something that we were lucky enough to get a young guy hire a young guy that just took to it like a duck to water. I mean, he's he's very knowledgeable, and he brings a lot of knowledge from within that we can use. Yeah.
Well, I thank you so much. If people want to learn about your company, primarily people in Illinois and Indiana, but anywhere in the world, they should go to look up Integrated Machinery Systems online. That's how to find you. www.imscnc.com. We're located in Itasca, Illinois. And we do have a showroom right now. It's a pretty empty showroom, which is a good thing. But we're working on filling that back up. And again, we'll be at IMTS representing our builders at the IMTS show. So hopefully you can stop by the Index, Takamaz, and Hermle booth and Markforged booth as well. I will.
And the United Grinding booth as well. And thank you.
Give me a lot of homework. Thank you.